এইটা তোমার ক্ষমতা। Legal High DIY Kernlick.
This is DIY Power.
Welcome to DIY Power. Here in Michigan, Asian American voters have been a real powerhouse at the ballot box. We only represent 3% of the general population in Michigan, but we're over 30% of the voting population. This high turnout shows that Asian Americans believe voting is important. We register and we vote. Even when an election is over, we have to stay tuned in. We have to stay engaged with our government. We have to take care of our democracy the way we care for our families, because they are connected. So how do we do that? Remember, our elected officials are supposed to represent us, and we need to hold them accountable for that.
Hold them accountable.
Across Michigan, we have 110 state representatives in Lansing and 14 representatives in Washington, D.C. And we have 38 state senators and 2 U.S. senators. Today, we'll focus on our state-level representatives and senators. Together, they form our state's legislature.
Legislature.
And they work with the governor to create our state laws. The party who has a majority in the state legislature can have an advantage when it comes to passing laws. Do you know who has a majority in the legislature now?
Republican.
And which party is the governor?
Democrat.
How does our government make the laws? Ideas for laws come from a need or a perceived need in society that has to be satisfied. Sometimes the idea for a law comes from a lawmaker's constituents. The first draft of a potential law is called a bill. Bills are developed in legislative committees, and committees are chaired by the majority party. Another advantage of being in the majority. A bill needs to be approved within committee before it can be voted on by the full House or Senate. Once a bill is approved in committee, it is voted on by the full chamber, House or Senate. Then it is voted on by the other chamber. If it passes both chambers, it is presented to the governor, who can sign it into law or veto it. So a lot of cooperation is required to make laws. With more cooperation, more work gets done. But sometimes lawmakers do not agree.
Fight!
Let's look at 2 different education bills introduced into the Michigan legislature. One bill, SB 460, would cut funding for schools that teach students about systemic racism. Another bill, SB 797, would require schools to promote cultural understanding and teach lessons on the history of AAPI and other cultures.
I just kept hearing from people, why are my kids not learning about Asian American history in schools? What can we do to make sure that we're teaching this history?
Which educational bill would you support? SB 460 or SB 797? Which one does your state senator support? Do you know who your state senator is?
Mom, we can just look it up.
Okay. Yeah, where should I go?
To send.michigan.gov.
Find out who your rep is if you don't already know. Then get in touch with them and find out if they support the bill you would support. Let them know how you feel about it and how you think they should vote, and even how you plan to vote based on how they vote.
Yes, hello. Hi, Senator. I'm a parent in your district, and the reason that I'm calling is that I wanted to know what your stance was on adding more Asian American education in our school's curriculum. Yep, I heard what I needed to hear.
So find out how your rep votes on different legislation. If they're not representing you, maybe it's time to elect a different rep. That's another way you can help decide what bills make it to the governor and become law. Speaking of which, we have an election coming this November. Learn each candidate's priorities. Do they support policies that are good for you and your family? If you don't see a candidate who shares your values, think about running for office yourself. The qualifications are simple. Whatever else you do, make sure you vote.
Vote!
Vote! Make sure your neighbors vote. Remember to take care of our families. We have to take care of our democracy. As Asian Americans, we flex our muscles in the voting booth. Let's use that power.
Let's vote for our families!